What if the evil that we perceive in this world is a direct correlation of the collapse of a civilization? And what I mean by that is it's a mirror to show how far a civilization has fallen from its original source consciousness. What if the evils and the horrors that we're seeing in this world are to show us how far we have fallen? And what if, in a more self-aware, higher consciousness civilization, the terms and parameters of evil would be defined very differently than what they are now? That maybe if we were to eradicate and suddenly wake up one day and what we consider evil would be wiped from our planet, what would be our new barometer of evil? Would that be people who lack empathy, compassion, people who energetically harm, spiritually harm, not just physically harm? Would that be our new barometer of evil, I wonder? Because a higher consciousness civilization, or a more self-aware, more evolved, that would be looking at things from the lens of the heart and soul, right? When we hear mind, body, spirit, and soul, the soul is connected to our heart. I mean, everyone's heard that song, Heart and Soul, right? Like, so it would be a more heart-centered civilization that would communicate to each other, and whether it be verbally, physically, mentally, spiritually, however the communication would be very much heart-centered communications, acts of service towards self and others. And to do harm would mean to cause a distortion within somebody's heart center or their energetic or auric field, and that would be considered violence, and that would be considered egregious in a higher consciousness and awareness civilization. So, yeah, when I think about it, when I think about, like, how did humanity get here? How did we get here? How did we get to this place where we are pitted against each other, we're competing against each other like it's some Hunger Games bullshit, where we don't think that there's enough energy, resources, creative ideas, like, where did we get this idea that there isn't enough to go around? Yes, we have been programmed to see the scarcity consciousness, and I understand how this all works, like, the top level down, corporations, government, blah, blah, blah. I'm fully aware of all that, but at this point, it feels like it's like we need to shift our perspective we just need to shift our perspective of how we're looking at moving forward by hashing and rehashing basically old news. At this point, the people who are awake, who know what's up, have been awake and knowing what's up for a really long time. And the last wave has been since COVID of newbies. Like, right? Like newbies that haven't been aware of the bullshit that's been going on, and that really helped awaken the next level or the next wave of masses. But at this point, I mean, We can't just keep recycling the same things into the quantum field, into the energetic loops. As many already know, and those who don't know, when we do ceremony, we do celebrations, anything that happens on a repetitive loop, if you've noticed that there are certain times in your life where you might, or sorry, certain seasons in your life where you might go, oh, spring is like been a really good season for me, or spring's a really shitty season, everything crappy seems to happen around this time of year. If you pay attention to those loops, it's because there's something that's been fed into that energetic timeline loop. And unless it's acknowledged and the pattern's broken, it just continues to keep looping, and it will appear to be bad luck or whatever, coincidence. It's not actually a coincidence, it's a programming that goes on within the collective loop as well, which is why, there are certain holidays and there are certain things, is to get the collective consciousness to think about the same thing at the same time. And if you pay attention to even certain news cycles and stuff like that that comes out, there is timing and there are patterns to everything. And it's getting the collective to start feeding that loop of negativity, in order to break free, in order to truly make change within ourselves and this entire world. It starts with us, number one. It starts with one. It starts with us doing the work, and those of us that have done the healing work and done the shadow work and have been doing it, it never ends, but have done the really deep diving of it. We already understand this. And moving forward, we need to be reprogramming those loops of whenever there's some bullshit that's coming up that is hitting the news feeds, stopping that. It's not about ignoring, it's not about bypassing, it's not about not acknowledging the victims and not acknowledging the horrific things that have happened. But let's look at it from this perspective. The fact that we're at this point, that is a reflection of how far we have collectively fallen. And how do we resurrect ourselves from this? How do we become higher consciousness beings and a higher consciousness society and not continue to slide and basically wipe ourselves out? We are literally at the place that Atlantis and every other civilization that had fallen historically. We're here, guys. So are we going to feed the timeline loops? Creativity, joy, happiness, positivity, love, right? Correct those timeline loops, or are we going to continue to feed it distorted fear, lack, fighting, like arguing with each other about bullshit, clawing back and living in this place of fear that there isn't enough, pushing people down, stepping on people that you think that is less than you so that you can get to the top. That is not a great civilization. That is a civilization that is sitting at the brink of impending doom. So, yeah. What are we going to do about it? It's up to us, I guess. It's up to us as an individual, and it's up to us collectively as a society of what we're going to do about this and how we're going to turn this around for our future generations and for the survival of humanity. That's the reality of things. So, yeah. What are you going to do to feed into this next round that is coming up, these next cycles that are starting right now, to shift and change things for the positive and be that one light that stands up and says, no, I'm going to feed joy, love, creativity, positivity, unity, harmony into these next collective cycles, and fuck this shit. We've got this. I love you guys. Bye.